this is otherwise state champ Alex Thompson. This is Josh Elwer from the University of Northern Iowa, and you're listening to Potentially Dangerous on IA Wrestle.
Hey, is this heaven?
No, it's Iowa.
From high school to international wrestling, on the mat and beyond, this is the Potentially Dangerous podcast with the guys from IA Wrestle.
If you're a fighter, you like a fight. If you're an American, you like a fight. If you're an Iowa Hawkeye, you know you're going to get a fight.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and all your podcast-friendly apps. And follow us on social media platforms at IA Wrestle. Time to strap it up and get to the show.
Welcome back to Potentially Dangerous. This is episode 83 of our podcast. Joining me tonight is my good friend Lars Underbaki. How you doing, Lars?
Doing good. Had a full week of NCAA wrestling, or a few days there to watch, so a lot to talk about tonight, I think.
Yeah, it's always a grind. We sent quite a few guys down to St. Louis, grinding it out, getting interviews, taking pictures, keeping you guys up to date on the matchups that were going on. So I felt like we did a good job running coverage this year. Just kind of wanted to throw a shout out to our guys, Tony Hager, Kirk, Crittenden, Eric Shares, and Nick Ryder for grinding it out down there in St. Louis. And if you guys want to thank them, go ahead and give them a shout out on social media. Speaking of that, you can give us a follow at IA Wrestle. That's for Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. We were dominating it this weekend. I also want to give a nice little shout out here to MyHouse. MyHouseSportsGear.com is where you need to go to get hooked up with some wrestling gear. They take care of us on the podcast, so we like to take care of them. So they always appreciate them sponsoring the podcast. And we can go ahead and just jump into the craziness that was the NCAA tournament. Lars, I mean, there was so much mixed emotions with what happened. We've obviously, formed a pretty good connection with a lot of these guys from Iowa. There was just a lot of crazy wrestling, from guys we didn't know, just watching it in general. But obviously, biggest takeaway is Penn State dominating, running away with the team title their 6th in 7 years. But I mean, what's something else that you were kind of, what you're taking away from this year's tournament?
I would say, it was a really fun tournament for, I really actually thought Iowa wrestled overall pretty well. They left some matches out there on the table, some things happened. But to see Corey Clark win a national title was unbelievable, for all that he's been through this year, through his career. He's a 3-time finalist, but he hadn't got it done yet. So to see him go out there and win it was obviously the highlight. I thought you and I had a really strong showing, getting a couple guys on the stand, a couple other guys, scored some really good points for them. I think that, and they're all, all those guys are back. The young guys, they're adding a lot to it next year. They're going to be fun to watch. Obviously Iowa State, there wasn't a whole lot to see, unfortunately, but, I think their time's coming. They got a new coach. They got a lot of stuff going on, some more great recruits coming. So, just a lot to watch on the Iowa side of things. And on the other hand, you've got, it was crazy to think that you would go into last night and watch Isaiah Martinez and Gabe Dean lose. Both guys are 2-time champs going for their 3rd. So to see them both go down was a shocker. But, I thought the finals were exciting and, just a ton of great wrestling all over the place.
Yeah, and kind of starting with the Hawkeyes there, obviously they were the more successful team from our state. They ended up with, they had a 4th place finisher, 3 3rd-place finishers, and then, of course, Clark winning it. So solid tournament from Iowa. Like you said, they left some matches out there. I don't think there's any bigger match left out there than the 125-pound semifinal. It was really weird to see Gilman go out there. I mean, it was just the opposite of what we've seen all year. He didn't look aggressive on his feet. I guess the only other time he looked like that was in his match with Nick Suriano, looked a little tentative. And then in the second period when he has his choice, he takes neutral instead of going down, didn't even want to go So just you feel for a guy like Gilman who, I mean, A lot of people hate on him, which is fine for me. I don't care whether people like him or not, but I liked it for the aspect that he brought attention to the sport. He gave you a reason to hate Iowa more, make you pay attention and root for him to lose if that's what you wanted to do. So, I always appreciated Thomas Gilman being that character, being that heel, that villain, whatever they want to tag him with. So it was really kind of heartbreaking to watch him lose that match, but he definitely came back strong. I loved his quote, I woke up this, Saturday morning, sun still came up. So just outstanding career for Gilman. And the other big thing for Iowa, I thought, I don't know if fans might not remember last year, but they went into the Saturday morning session, and Burak was the only wrestler that got a win Saturday morning for the those last placement matches. Meyer and Brooks went down in the 7th place match. Burak ended up losing in the 3rd place match, and then of course Iowa lost all 3 finals. So Saturday was just a real bummer of a day last year. So it was kind of nice to, even though they didn't have everybody finish exactly where you'd want, a lot stronger performance. I think they only lost 1 match on Saturday, and that's not much more you could ask for.
Yeah, they went 8-1 Saturday, so definitely a strong finish. The only match they lost was Sam Brooks' 3rd and 4th place match. He plays with fire a lot on those upper body throws. This time it didn't work out, but yeah, it was really fun to see the resiliency of some of those guys, especially the seniors. And to see a guy like Kemmerer have a great freshman season and have that, will to come back after taking a loss that he didn't expect on a kind of a crazy move. I thought it showed a lot from everybody. And, the whole Gilman thing, yeah, it was hard to watch from the standpoint of, it just felt like he kind of shut down his offense, and that's just never been Thomas. I would have just, even if he goes down, I would have liked to have seen him gone down firing the way he's always done. I actually didn't mind him taking neutral because, he's gotten ridden at times, and why waste that time? Get on your feet, open it up. The problem is he didn't open it up, and it showed. It just felt like he was trying to win a 1-0 match, and that's just not his style. Go with what got you there, keep firing. But, I think he handled it well. He was able to come back for 3rd, and, really did have a great career. And we definitely haven't heard the end of Thomas Gilman. He's going to be sticking around Iowa City, training, for world and Olympic teams. And, I think he's a guy that could make some noise on that level as well.
Yeah, we'll be definitely excited to see him. He was obviously the one facet of Thomas Gilman's game you couldn't deny was how good he was on his feet. So that's obviously just going to be gravy for him in freestyle if he doesn't have to worry about being down. The other, really positive thing for the Hawkeyes was, and I don't know if this can be mentioned enough, is Cash Wilkie. He's the 34th guy. He wasn't supposed to be at the national tournament. Jake Smith of West Virginia gets hurt, and all of a sudden, NCAA had an opportunity to just select the next guy, and that next guy was Cash Wilkie. And he got to the national tournament, and I think he kind of just forgot he wasn't supposed to, that he could win, or that he was supposed to lose his matches, and he kind of came out firing, and he made it all the way to the round of 12, which nobody saw coming. So it just kind of goes to show that if you just come in to wrestle and kind of forget about all the noise and what's supposed to happen, some good things can happen. So really happy for Cash getting that opportunity and making the most of it. It's real early, I know, Lars, but what are some of your thoughts on this lineup coming back? Because I know they're, obviously they're graduated 4 All-Americans.
Yeah, it's, like I say, it's early. It's a little bit hard to know, but, I think next year is going to be a little bit tough on the Hawkeyes. You're going to have some young guys, a lot of inexperience. There's definitely some talent there, but you have the questions of Spencer Lee's health now, Sam Stoll's health. Do both of those guys miss all of next season? And then to me, a huge question is Cash Wilkie staying at 97 or dropping back to 84? And regardless of where he goes, who's filling in the other way? Is it Mitch Bowman? Do they have another plan in place? I don't really see Stephen Holloway getting back to 197. So, he's got a good chance to be your heavyweight next year, or, do you throw Aaron Costello in there as a true freshman? So there's a lot of questions. Can Phil Lau make 125? Is Brock Rathbun your 33-pounder? Is Vince Turk going to be healthy? There's just questions all over that lineup. So it'll be really interesting to see how it shakes out. But, I think they're going to maybe take a little bit of a step back next year. But then you also got to look at the following year, looks to be really promising with all these guys that they've been recruiting the lineup. You get Jacob Warner in the lineup. You get Spencer Lee in the lineup. You get a year under the belt of guys like Young and Marinelli and Happel and Turk and on and on. So, next year, Hawk fans might have to suck it up a little bit. It might not be the best thing we've ever seen, but I do think that they've been building the last couple of years, and I think the future is bright. It just might take a couple of years.
I don't know. Yeah, it's obvious they're going to have to take a step back when you're losing Clark and Gilman, who are their day one national title contenders. Brooks has always been really solid. So you're losing a lot of firepower, and you're replacing it with a lot of youth. I'm not sure if you touched on this one, but I think 165-74. That's going to still be an interesting scenario. Joey Gunther wins over 20 matches as a redshirt freshman. A lot of talk was, would Marinelli go this year? He doesn't, and Gunther just kind of quietly has this strong season, and it's still probably going to be assumed Marinelli's going to have the inside track, for talent-wise at 165. But Gunther had a strong season. He's going to continue to get better. Only going to be a sophomore. Maybe he tries to go up and wrestle 74 with Caleb Young. Maybe that's something that happens. So there's a lot of interesting things just happening right there in the middle. And of course, you pretty much just have your stalwarts of Sorensen and Kemmer, and then you're hoping Wilkie can use some of that positive momentum at the end of the season to maybe springboard into 184, with his hair on fire.
Yeah, I think, like I say, it's just going to be a question of how everything shakes out. It's too early to know on them, but, we'll see where it goes, and hopefully they can, live up to all the hype and expectations and have a good year next year, and then, it'll just keep getting better and better and better from there.
And, talking about getting better and better and better, it's, this something we've seen with you and I. We saw that good recruiting class come in, and we knew it was going to take time for them to get all on the mat and to start making that progress to being a better team. And, I guess it's the first official season that entire class is on the mat. Bryce Steyert started as a true freshman, and he's been just rock solid for them. But I think, if you're a Panther fan, you're really excited about the future. Max Thompson comes out, reaches the semifinals at 149. That's a real nice surprise. Still comes back and takes fifth, avenging a loss to a wrestler he lost, at the beginning of the season. And then you got Drew Foster, a guy that's never won a state title, started at 165 at UNI. He's at 184 this season, and he caps off a great season with a 7th place finish at 184. So 2 All-Americans and 6 qualifiers coming back.
Yeah, I mean, I think, this lineup's going to take a huge step forward. You lose Peters, obviously hurts. You lose a couple of guys at 41, things like that. But, I mean, man, the future's bright. You're going to have a battle between guys like Schwarm and, I just totally dropped the ball on 25. Rudy Yates, thank you. At 25, you got Elber back, you got Steyert back, you got just everybody. It's crazy. Lujan's going to have another year under his belt. Foster, like you say, just made huge jumps. To me, was one of the best surprises or best guys of the year to watch. A lot of people didn't even think he'd be in the lineup. Holschlag seemed to be kind of a assumption that Holschlag would be 84-pounder this year, and Foster, not only goes in, takes the spot, but goes and becomes an All-American. He's still got 2 more years. Does that give Holschlag another year to grow into 97? You got Carter Isley coming in at heavyweight. I mean, they're just going to be loaded top to bottom. I think the only, kind kind of question at this point might be 141. Does one of the true freshmen, you got Lara and Gertz coming in, does one of them, maybe step into the lineup at 141? But, I mean, they're just going to be solid top to bottom, and really, even next year, they're not really going to have any seniors. They're still going to be young, so the future is just extremely bright in my eyes for the Panthers.
I think you're nailing it, when you look at the potential lineup for the Panthers. Kothi obviously has been a guy that's been pretty solid at 41, so you would think he's kind of got the inside track, maybe give those true freshmen some time to get some college wrestling under their belt. You do have a two-time JUCO national champ, Tyler Hoffman. I know they played with him at 197. So they got some really good depth built up. 57's going to be kind of they got Patton Moore, kind of see maybe if there'll be some competition there. But overall, just a real strong program. Got a lot of guys coming back. You got to be really happy. So Panthers, great 2017 tournament. Looking forward to even more things in Cleveland. And I hate to do this. It just feels like I'm beating up on them. But Iowa State obviously didn't have the best 2017 tournament. They were done on Friday. They won one match. Leland Weatherspoon, Earl Hall, and Weatherspoon were returning All-Americans. Both failed to make the stand. Marcus Harrington, in his first trip to the tournament, unable to really get some traction. But looking forward, I bet that's really all you can do with Iowa State. And do you have any thoughts on how that lineup will look?
That one's going to be interesting. They're going to have some firepower coming off a redshirt next year. So, if you think about guys like Ian Parker and Kanan Storr and Gremmel, and I mean, list goes on. I mean, there's a lot of guys that could step into that lineup and really make some noise next year. To me, they're going to be stronger. I know Hall had just a ton of struggles all year long. After getting that extra year, I'm not sure what happened, but he just never really got going. So Ian Parker might even be a step up if he's your 33-pounder. I think they're going to, Gremmel's an extremely talented kid, heavyweight. I think, he's got a chance to improve there. Harrington's going to have another year. I actually look for them to improve. They're going to be really young, kind of inexperienced, but, I think having Dresser at the helm, it's new blood. It's a new chance to just kind of start over. You got another good recruiting class coming in. I'm hoping that they redshirt all those guys, give them a year to grow. But in a couple years, you get Verclearen and Gomez and Leisure and Coleman and all those guys in the lineup with, all the youngsters I just mentioned. They could be really, really solid in, 2-3 years. So I look for Dresser to, keep the recruiting trend going and, just kind of change the vibe of that program and get them back on track. And, next year might not be great yet, but I think they're going to be heading in the right direction. I think they made an outstanding hire. They got plenty of talent in the room, and it's just putting it all together and getting right back on track.
And I think that they have 3 NCAA qualifiers this year. Harrington's the only guy that returns. Dane Pastano returns as an NCAA qualifier from the 2016 tournament, so effectively you have 2 guys with postseason experience at nationals. I'm assuming Pastano's at least going to go up to 74. Obviously, 65 wasn't happening. But, honestly, they got question marks at 74 and 84. So maybe Pastano goes all the way back to 84. He's a guy that wrestled 220 in high school, I think. So he's a guy that can put that weight back on. Maybe he can do it a little bit better than when he came into Iowa State. You got Vega coming in at 125, who, he gave Larson a pretty good beating early in the season. So you got a potential upgrade there. Parker and Simmons will battle for 33. The loser will go up to try and knock off Storr. So, I mean, honestly, with the 74-84 Pastano situation, I think that's the one question mark you have. And then at 49, they got to figure out what's going to happen there. Storr's pretty adamant he's staying at 141. And, Dante Rodriguez comes back, maybe. He's been hurt. That's why he missed this season, because he had some injury problems. So those 149 and 74-84 are the big question marks that you're not even sure who you want to pencil in at the moment, but it's definitely a positive trend. And Dresser, I mean, they interviewed him on Friday as soon as Weatherspoon lost, and he's like, it's time to get to work. So looking for big things out of Iowa State. Was there anything else from the NCAA tournament that kind of caught your eye you wanted to talk about?
Just general things like, obviously the Penn State dominance, to see them win 5 weights in a row, and all 5 of those guys return next year is just crazy. That they're all back. Obviously the unquestioned favorites going into next year. It'll be interesting to see if anybody can step up and challenge them at all. I don't know if you saw that stat, but they actually would have won a dual meet last night. They scored more points in the NCAA finals than every other team combined. So crazy to think about. Kyle Snyder, guy's a warrior for coming back with those ribs. And I don't know about you, but I was watching with some buddies, and when he lifted Medberry up in the air, everybody just at one time was just, going crazy, like, oh my God, how's he doing this? Especially on, this injury. So just incredibly impressive again from Kyle Snyder.
Yeah, he looked like Superman.
Yeah. The guy can do anything. He's incredible. So
yeah, Penn State definitely found a way to widen their gap. So you're going to need some talent to take them out. So there's people already mentioning that the scoring record could be in jeopardy next year, because obviously they didn't have Suriano at 25. That's a pretty big blow to their team points. You got to think he's worth an All-American at least. I know things happen to freshmen at tournaments, but Penn State seems to be unfazed by that little deal there. So the other big thing from St. Louis that we want to recognize was that IA Wrestle was named the National Wrestling Media Association's Website of the Year. We just kind of wanted to take a quick moment. I wanted to thank everybody, and I know everybody else that's not on the podcast kind of shares his thoughts that we thank you guys for reading our site every day. We can, to listen to this podcast, to watching our interviews, to retweeting our stuff. We really appreciate it. We've come a long way in these last 3 years, so we just really want to tell everyone how we appreciate that.
Yeah, when this thing started, I don't know that anybody envisioned quite where we'd be just 3 years in. So, yeah, it's incredible. We can't do it with all these, just hungry wrestling fans in the state of Iowa. I don't think it would have worked out this well anywhere else in the country. So, we have just an incredible state, an incredible thirst for the sport, and I'm just glad that we can help bring more coverage to it. And, we can't do it without all of you. So thank you to every person who's ever, like you say, clicked on our site, looked at us on Twitter, Facebook, came up and said hi at a tournament, told us, they appreciated what we were doing. It just means a ton.
And with what we're trying to do to make this sport better, we're putting our money where our mouth is, and we're going to stream the North-South All-Star Meet for the second year in a row. Pretty decent, names here in the list. Some of these guys competed at the Night of Conflict. Some of these guys are War at West Gym alums now. So that duel will be Saturday, March 25th. It's in Charles City at the high school. You can get tickets at the door, or you can watch it. Like I said, it's on IU Wrestle. It'll be through TrackCast. It's pretty much how we've done our season pass all year, if you're familiar with that. We got, Lars, who are some of the big names sticking out to you competing in this event? Have you looked at the names?
Yeah, there's some really good names. McGuire Midkiff, Zach Barnes, Austin Yant, Brock Jennings, Max Lyon, Aaron Costello, Wyatt Reed. There's quite a few D1 kids on that list. One of the more intriguing ones to me is Derek Holschlag. This guy got hurt before sectionals, wasn't able to compete in the postseason, so I'm really excited to see that he's doing better and ready to wrestle. I think that's really exciting to see, and just top to bottom, there's just a ton of talent, a lot of really good wrestlers. So it'll be an exciting night. It's always a good event, and kind of gives everybody a chance to see these guys one more time on the high school level before they all move on, and show appreciation for everything that they've done the last 4 years for the sport in the state of Iowa.
Absolutely. The time is running out to watch some of these seniors wrestle their last high school folk style matches. Of course, there's this event that we're streaming that we're really excited to be a part of, and then of course I think it's the next weekend is USA Wrestling's Folk Style Nationals, so that'll be taking place soon. So, I mean, if you want to watch these guys go out and put it all on the line, this is an opportunity to do that. So looking forward to that. Also going on this weekend, another all-star duel. This one's out in Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Wrestling Classic. News kind of came out this weekend during the tournament that Iowa State commit Austin Gomez had to get his appendix removed while he's down in St. Louis. He's sitting there watching the wrestling, goes to bed that night and starts to get pains in his side and didn't really think too much of it. Wakes up the next day thinking he's ready to roll into day 2, and all of a sudden, he's heading to the ER to go to surgery. So we're wishing the best for Austin, but obviously when you're getting your appendix out, you're not going to be able to wrestle in 6-7 days. So Austin's going to be out of the Dapper Dan. We kind of touched on it last week, Lars, he was supposed to wrestle Max Murin, but so Lee pulled out for an ACL injury, but he's still going to be honorary captain. You got Murin, Jacob Warner, and Jared Verklieren for guys that are going to wrestle in Iowa that are going to be competing in the event. You going to dabble and watch this event at all?
Hoping to. We'll see what the weekend brings, but it would sure be fun to watch, not only those guys, but all these incredible kids from across the nation. But yeah, really excited. Obviously, Iowa and Iowa State got a lot of studs coming in, guys to watch. So I can't wait to watch these guys compete in the state of Iowa, and it would be fun to watch them, against other top competition. So hoping to be able to sign on. Speedy recovery to Austin. My son went through that earlier this year, and it's definitely a painful thing. It's a big process to heal from. So hopefully he can get some rest, take, a month off or whatever, and be ready to come back and compete this summer and ready to roll by the time he gets to Iowa State in the fall.
Yep. So things I forgot to mention were the duel will be on Flow Wrestling for those that do want to watch it. It'll be this Saturday. And then also talked to Austin, and he said, it's going to be like 3 weeks of no contact physical to rehab, but he is planning to be back for the U.S. Open next week for juniors. So, hopefully everything goes well so we can get him back, see him on the mat, because I don't think anybody doubts that, what his performance along with Gavin Teasdale's was some of the most eye-opening experience at the U.S. Open last year. He had that great match with Fix, and then he came back and he teched Nick Piccinini from Oklahoma State, the guy that was an All-American for Oklahoma State this year. So, I mean, Gomez, definitely a freestyle savvy kind of guy. Hoping he can get back on the mat and, have a chance to rep our junior world team. And kind of also, crazy news, Lars. Did you see that the UWW has announced that we're going to 10 weights now for seniors and 2-day weigh-ins?
Yeah, I think it's extremely exciting, especially the 10 weights. I haven't seen a list. I don't know if they've actually released yet what the weights will be, but the more the better. I'm really excited that we can get more of our guys out there on the mat. The 2-day weigh-in thing is a little bit interesting. I'm a little surprised that they're going to try it, but to me, personally, I think this helps the U.S. I know a lot of these guys across the world are cutting just a ton of weight, sometimes struggle with conditioning, things like that. So for them to have to make weight a second day, I think favors the U.S. and our guys that are used to multiple day weigh-ins from being on the collegiate level, things like that. And, a lot of the U.S. guys are known for their gas tanks. Sometimes that gets taken away in some of these tournaments, but I think this might actually help in the long run. So I'm all for these changes. I hope they can keep more weights around for the Olympics going forward as well, but I think it's a great opportunity for more guys to get a chance at Worlds next year.
Yeah, it's crazy because this news comes out on like Friday, during the national tournament. So I feel like it kind of just got brushed to the side because there's so much other stuff going on for us. What we're engaged in to kind of be thinking about the ramifications, to really think about it. They said they're going to do, I think it's the European Championships and the Cadet World Tournament is where they're going to test this 2-day weigh-in. And if that works out, they're going to implement it in January 1st, 2018. They're going to meet at the Senior World Tournament in France. And that's when they're going to talk about what the weights will be for seniors, juniors. And there was one other, division they were going to decide the new weight classes. So we're going to have to wait a couple more months for that news. I just think it's going to be crazy because, it's also going to change how we do our tournament, So right now we're doing the same thing where we wrestle 74 kilos all in one day. And it's just going to be interesting to see if moving to a 2-day, does that open the door for somebody that hasn't really been able to really, recover in time? With the 2 days, does that somehow change the factor where different guys rise up our ranks in the USA? I'm really interested to see the impact it has domestically and internationally. I think there's a lot of implications. We're going straight to international in my mind.
Yeah, definitely. My other thought on this was, if we're doing this over the next year, does this mean that we're going to have 10 weights at the World Cup in Iowa City next year, which would be really fun and exciting? Add some more matches. Let's bring them in. I want to see all of these guys compete. I know everybody's pumped about this event coming to Iowa City, so it'd be a lot of fun to have more guys, more matches, more weights. So I'm hoping they keep it around. I hope it's a good sign that, not only has wrestling been brought back from the dead after the Olympic scare, but, it's really moving in the right direction, growing. Give the women more weights too. Bring it on. Let's just keep wrestling going, keep it going in the right direction. And I think it's definitely a positive sign and a positive step in the right direction.
100%. So looking forward to seeing, right now, the big things coming up are obviously going to be what's going to happen at Iowa State. We talked about that last week. That the coaches are going to be hopefully getting figured out there. We're moving into freestyle season, so it'll be interesting to see where guys are going at weights. A lot of fun stuff coming up, Lars. I know I'm excited. We do get some downtime. We've got that North-South duel, but then really there's not a lot going on until that U.S. Open. So we can kind of lay low, have our meeting, kind of just process what happened this weekend, maybe find out who's going to stick around Iowa City, who's sticking around Ames, who's sticking around Cedar Falls. So a lot of fun stuff coming up. Hope you guys stay tuned to IA Wrestle. Lars, do you have any other just general thoughts at all or anything you want to talk about?
I do. Real quick, I want to get a word in here for the Kirk Hageman Memorial Wrestling Scholarship. I know we've put it out a few times on the site. We are still taking applications till March 31st, so you have about a week and a half to get those in. I hope that every person who's been involved in wrestling across the state of Iowa that's a senior, that's wanting to go to college, please apply. We'd love to hear from you. You don't have to be a great wrestler. We just want somebody who's passionate about the sport. It can be a cheerleader. It can be a manager. We've had managers win before. You can be a wrestler, just somebody who's, we want to know how the sport has impacted your life and how you want to give back going forward, things like that. So you can apply or ask questions, apply anything at Kirk Hageman Scholarship at hotmail.com. We'll probably send something out on the site one more time this week. So I encourage everybody to apply. I'm on the committee for that, so I'll be looking over all these essays over the next few weeks and trying to make a determination. And, we just love to hear from all of you and hope that a lot of people, are going to college and want to give back to the sport that we all love. So please encourage everybody to apply.
Yeah, and just for fans just hearing this now and they want to check it out, you can go under our high school tab on IA Wrestle to find information on the scholarship. Like Lars has said, we've been putting it out on social media, so you can always, be kind of monitoring that. Or if you can't find it under high school, I mean, we got that search bar on the side. Just type in Kirk, that's Kirk, Hageman, that's Hageman. You can search that. Should be the first result that pops up. So definitely apply for that. That's a great opportunity if you're a high school senior involved in the sport of wrestling in any way. So we want to thank everyone again for tuning into the Potentially Dangerous podcast. I mean, 83 episodes strong. We're killing it. So we appreciate all the support, guys. Thanks again to MyHouse for sponsoring the podcast, and take care, everyone.